Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to Denmark once again, although this company is now kind of American as well. So we're going to return to Evil Twin Brewing and we're going to have a look at another one of the beers that they released through the Små Partiers on the 5th of April 2019 here in Sweden. So for this one we're going to have a taste of the Irish-ish Coffee Stout, which comes in at 10.3% Imperial Stout as the name suggests, and this beer apparently they're describing it as an Imperial Stout brewed with lactose and demerara sugar and with nutmeg, vanilla, medium toast oak spirals and coffee added as well. So yeah, as I say, it should be a very interesting beer. It had a very high rating when I checked it out on Rate Beer earlier. I think it was a 98 that it had actually, and it was rated well into the 4 stars when I checked it out on Untappd as well. But we know Evil Twin are very able when it comes to the Imperial Stout side of beers, as well as they are with the with the IPAs as well. They're just a very solid brewery generally, and I'm very curious to see how this one turns out, particularly because I've been getting quite into the coffee stout style recently, so really curious to see how this one turns out. And as always, I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Evil Twin before. No doubt there will be some more in the fairly near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Danish beers that I've reviewed for you and one for all the American beers. Since this one is kind of half and half, it will appear in both of those lists. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Evil Twin Brewing then, on to my brewery notes quickly. So as I've mentioned to you numerous times, these guys started off as a Danish gypsy brewery, and the company was founded by Jeppe Janit Bjergso, who is the twin brother of course of Mikkel Bjergso, the big boss at Mikkeller. And the company was founded back in 2010, and it was largely inspired by the lack of craft beer in Denmark back in that time. But Jeppe began homebrewing in the same beer group that gave birth to Mikkeller and also a few other breweries as well. But he went on to found his own company, which was called Ølbutikken in Copenhagen. And this is a very nice little beer shop actually, but it has since changed hands. But he also started an import business attached to the shop, and that was used to import American beers into Denmark. And he later decided that it would be fun to sell his own beers in the shop as well, which also distributed the very early Mikkeller stuff as well. But Jeppe agreed an import deal with 12% imports that would send his beers across the Atlantic to America, and he later decided to follow over there with his wife back in 2012, and the company then became based in Brooklyn in New York. But the beer is brewed at a variety of different host breweries. They do brew some stuff in Denmark. I think Popel's Brewery here in Sweden are brewing a few other different things as well. They were brewing beers at Brewdog in Scotland for a while, but most of their beers are brewed in on the east coast of the US these days, and they seem to gravitate between a couple of different breweries over there that obviously have a good bit of spare capacity. But I would say this brewery are very well known for their different Imperial Stouts that they do, and they do some very good IPAs as well, and they have been getting more and more prolific, I've noticed, over the last couple of years as well. But yeah, still a gypsy brewery at heart, and brewing lots of different things. You can go and check out the brewery website, of course, and that will let you see all the different beers that they do. And I think the most interesting one I saw and recently when I was having a flick through it was that they had a beer called Made in Taiwan. So I would absolutely love to have a taste of that one sometime. So if anyone does know where to get that beer, do let me know in the comments section below. But a very prolific brewery who are always producing some really interesting stuff. And if you can try some of their Imperial Stouts in particular, I would recommend that you have a go at those. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about Evil Twin just now. If you want to learn a little bit more, of course, you can check out the brewery website in the description below, and you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and all of these kind of things. So yeah, let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer itself then. Like I mentioned to you at the start of the video, this one is a 10.3% Imperial Stout. It's brewed with lactose, demerara sugar, nutmeg, vanilla, medium toast oak spirals, and also some coffee, and the coffee comes from Tandem Coffee Roasters in Portland in Maine. Spain. So yeah, and this beer was actually brewed in Boston, if I'm remembering correctly. It's brewed by the Dorchester Brewing Company in Boston in Massachusetts, and of course it's distributed still by 12% LLC in Brooklyn in New York. But yeah, without further ado then, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. It says here, inspired by an iconic cocktail with a twist of what a modern beer should taste like, an Imperial Stout shaken up with comfort, creaminess and nostalgia. So there you can see, nice little bit of artwork on this one, the very typical Evil Twin style artwork on this. There you can see the nice import sticker. This one, of course, it was imported by Beer Me in Sweden. And this was the weird thing actually. On the 5th of April 2019, on the small partiers that we got through Systembolaget, they had 4 different beers actually from Evil Twin, and I think a couple of them were brought in by different companies. For some reason they decided to release 4 Evil Twin beers in the one small partier, but I just went for the 2 Imperial Stouts. I didn't go for the other ones. But yeah, this one should be a really interesting beer, so without further ado, let's get it out and we will get on with the tasting then. I'm really curious to see how this turns out. Ooh, look at just how big and syrupy this beer is. This is going to be a monster, and it smells really nice and sweet actually. Just as I open it up, I think that will be enough for the moment. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we will get on with the tasting then. A lovely, a lovely looking beer this. If I hold this beer up to the light, it really doesn't have any other colour to it other than being dark and ebony. You can see there's a solid 2/3 finger of a frothy, I would say medium tan head on this one. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But you know, overall it looks pretty much as you would expect from an Imperial Stout, and when you're moving this beer around you get some of these lovely big kind of smooth coffee notes out of it, but there's a little touch of red fruity note just coming out of the beer as well. If I put my fingers behind the glass, obviously you are going to see nothing through this. It really is just completely pitch black and ebony. That looks very, very nice actually. So yeah, just nothing really surprised about this beer in terms of its appearance. So let's take a closer look at the aroma and just see how we're getting on with this one. Ooh. So the coffee on this one, to me it really leans towards the earthy side of things, and I always love this with coffee stouts. I keep mentioning this in my reviews recently, but when it comes to coffee stouts, the coffee bean itself really adds a whole other dimension to the beer. It can give you such levels of complexity that it's just ridiculous, to be quite honest with you. For me, the coffee bean in this one is very earthy and very roasty. So I think it's been kind of well fired. There is a little touch of an aromatic quality to it, but to me mainly it's an earthiness that comes out of the coffee in this one. And coffee beans are like hops, you know, if they're grown in different countries they'll have slightly different, they'll taste slightly different because of the different soil and nutrients and things like that. And of course, you know, it's things like that. It's like any plant, wheat from different countries will taste different. But yeah, the coffee note for me in this one is very smooth and very roasty and almost a little bit well fired, but there is a little touch of a kind of aromatic note to it. Not really any citrusy qualities or anything, or any fruity notes. To me, very earthy and very roasty, I would say. But yeah, underneath that you can smell a good bit of sweetness, but I would say the coffee is dominating the aroma. But when it's called Irish-ish Coffee Stout, that is kind of what you expect. But yeah, big underneath that big earthy presence from the coffee, there's a little bit of a chocolate in there. It's a good balance, I think, between a high percentage cocoa chocolate and also a little bit milky. You can smell that there is a little bit of that milky note in there. That could well be the lactose pushing its way out. The brown sugars, the brown sugars are definitely in there as well. You can smell that there's a nice kind of sweet caramelly note to this one as well. It does almost have a little bit of a toasty caramel note as well, but the oaky vanilla aromas are really coming out too, those oak spirals. The nutmeg, I'm trying to pick that up. I mean, nutmeg isn't something that I would really eat. You don't find nutmeg all that often, I don't think, over here in Europe. It's definitely more of a kind of American type thing. I don't even know what it really is, to be honest with you. I mean, I have had it before, but I don't know exactly how to describe what nutmeg is. But you know, you can pick up that there is a teeny bit of a kind of spicy note in this one, and I'm guessing that's the nutmeg. Like I say, it's not something that I'm overly familiar with. But yeah, there's a whole host of stuff going on in this beer. For me, as I say, the coffee notes are quite prominent in this one, but when your nose adjusts to this beer and you sugar it up a little bit and let it open up, you can start to detect the vanilla, the chocolate, and a little bit of the woody note come out of this beer as well. Some of the brown sugars really start to push their way to the surface as well, which is nice. On the hoppy side of things, you can pick up a little bit of earthiness, but again, I think that's suppressed quite a bit by the big coffee presence that this beer has. There's a nice smoothness to that also. You've got a little touch of a kind of... You have got a little touch of a red fruity note to this one as well. It's got a little bit of a kind of blackberry-ish, blackcurranty note to the beer as well. I really like how that goes together. There is a little touch of a figgy, blackcurranty type red fruit to this one. I do wonder if there's a bit of Williamette being used in here actually, because of the way the fruity notes are coming out of this one. Williamette has this very distinctive blackberry, blackcurranty type aroma to it, and also quite a distinct dark earthiness too. But yeah, not too much to note on the hoppy side of things. The focus, of course, is mainly on the malty side of the beer and the adjuncts that they've put into this one. But yeah, it smells really nice. As I always say, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But we're going to have a taste of this one now. So this one is the Irish-ish Imperial Coffee Stout, from Evil Twin Brewing, based over in Brooklyn in New York, over in America, but originally from Copenhagen in Denmark. Let's get stuck into this one. Slange, skål. Yeah, that's really nice actually. It's interesting because I find this one actually, to me this one's a little bit lighter in the mouthfeel compared to some of the other beers that I've had from Evil Twin recently. This one isn't quite as oily, I don't think, as some of the other Evil Twin stouts that I've had, but it works out really nicely. The thing that's interesting about this is it starts off quite sweet, and then you just feel the coffee, the roasty earthiness pushing its way onto the tongue. It's just like your palate dries out, and then the earthiness kind of comes from the back, the roastiness, sorry, just comes from the back and just creeps forward, and it's really nice actually. I can't remember if I said, but this beer I'm sure was supposed to be one of their winter releases. It was talking on the website about it being a winter warmer, so I think we're getting this one a little bit late, and again, this is what happens when you have a state monopoly on alcohol. But this one was supposed to be one of their winter releases, but I'll tell you straight away, I really like this beer, but you know, I've been getting very, very into coffee stouts recently. And it's the strange thing, because I do not drink coffee. I'm not into coffee at all. I really like I like the flavour of the coffee in stouts as an adjunct, but I've just never liked coffee on its own. But when you're trying all these different beers with all the different beans and stuff, you really start to build an appreciation for what coffee beans can be. It's almost craft in the same way that beer is, right enough, and hops are. But yeah, this is a lovely beer, so if you're into your coffee stouts, you certainly are going to enjoy this one. This is one where the flavour, some of the coffee stouts aren't so focused on the aftertaste. For me, the coffee in this one comes out from it's really the aftertaste where the main focus of the coffee side of the flavour is. But yeah, let's try and break down the flavour of this one a little bit. So in the middle of your palate then, you can feel there is a little touch of the roasty black malt in there, but the main focus, the main base of the malt base in this beer is that coffee. And like I said, it's to me this is quite an earthy coffee, but at the same time it's a very smooth earthiness that comes out of it. You can feel that it's a really well toasted bean, this one. It's quite a darker flavoured bean for me. The sort of aromatic notes that I was picking out from the coffee, there's a little bit of that there, but as I was picking out in the aroma, it's quite small. But I would say that the aromatic side of the coffee bean is a little bit more pungent in the aroma than it is in the flavour, to be honest with you. Yeah, and when you've actually got the liquid on your tongue, the beer that darkness to the coffee side of this beer feels even kind of even stronger than that actually. It's really nice this. I like how everything goes together, but as I say, that coffee note really is forming the base of the beer. The further you go into the aftertaste, the more the coffee side of the beer just fades a little bit. There's a little bit, if you go to the very centre of your palate, there is a brown sugar element to this beer, and that'll be the Demerara sugars. And it's almost, I mean, it's a little bit more sweet, if you like. It's almost got a little bit of a kind of honeycomb edge to it. The Demerara sugar is a very specific type of sugar, right enough, but I find that it's got a little bit of a kind of honey quality to it, and at the same time it's got a little bit of a honeycomb and a little bit of a kind of caramel wafery note. You can feel the centre of your palate really sweetening up in this one. A little bit of a kind of chocolatey note in there as well. There is a good bit of a kind of high percentage cocoa chocolate in there, and you can feel in the very centre of your palate some of the lactosey notes are popping out of this one also. Yeah. The lactosey side of this beer is interesting as well. As I say, the roastiness, the coffee and roasty qualities of this beer kind of dominate the flavour, but you can feel this one sweetening up the more that you drink of it. I think this is a beer that you just need to let it open up a little bit to fully appreciate what's going on here. But the sweeter side of things comes across very, very nicely. I really like how that is how that goes together in this one. There's a hell of a lot of flavour to this beer. It just takes the beer a little while to open up. Maybe I've brought this one out of the fridge just a little bit early, and maybe the temperature is playing a little bit of a role here, but I am finding as this beer, as it sits in the glass, and obviously it's warming up a little bit because of thermodynamics and all that chemistry and physics stuff. You really are starting to get more. You're really starting to get more of these flavours coming out of it, which is really nice. The adjuncts start to come out a little bit more the further you go into the aftertaste of this one. The nutmeg, again, I'm not getting all that much of it. I think the coffee, I mean, I can detect a little bit of it. If you come further forward on the palate, there is a little bit of that, that sort of spicy note. As I say, nutmeg isn't a flavour that I'm overly familiar with, but you can pick it out. But you also get, further forward on the palate, you start to get the nice oaky flavours out of the beer, and there is a little bit of that vanilla note in there as well. And the lactosey flavours and the chocolatey flavours in this beer are coming out there also. So, the real focus on the palate with this one is most definitely it really is definitely the malty side of things and all these adjuncts that they've put in the beer. But it goes together nicely. I mean, the Irish, I actually don't know if I've ever drank an Irish coffee now that I come to think about it. I mean, I know what it should taste like. It's basically Jameson with a bit of, or coffee with a bit of Jameson in it, or Jameson with a bit of coffee, and it depends how Irish it is. But, it's a really nice, I just like how this one goes together. I mean, the flavours of the cocktail, what I would imagine the cocktail tasting like, it really does reflect that quite well. But although I suspect that the beer is slightly sweeter than a regular Irish coffee might be, but this one gets a big thumbs up from me. I really enjoy coffee stouts, and as I say, it's a style that I've been getting more and more into recently. So yeah, Evil Twin, again, have done a really nice job with this, and I'm not surprised at the quality of this beer. I mean, we know how good this brewery are with Imperial Stouts. I mean, is it quite, as I've said, one of the best one of the best coffee stout producers rather that I've come across are Dugas Brewery, and they do some really, really awesome stuff that really helps bring out the flavours of the different coffee beans. They're very good at brewing a stout that helps complement that. This one for me is a little bit more about the adjuncts and things like that. If we talk about the coffee stout sub-style, to me this one leans a little bit more towards the roasty, toasty side of things. The Dugas ones are a little bit sweeter, from what I remember. They're a little bit more balanced on the sweet side of things. This one really is leaning more towards the roasty, toasty side of things. I'm guessing that might be to do with how much coffee they've actually put in the beer. So if you like your coffee stouts to lean a little bit more towards the roasty, toasty side of things, this is one that's really going to tick the boxes for you. I like them to just be a little bit sweeter than this, right enough. But this one is a very, very solid beer, and I certainly like what they've done here, so it gets a big thumbs up from me. I do think the adjuncts work well in this beer as well. In terms of the hoppy side of the beer, then, we haven't mentioned that. On the hoppy side of things, I mean, at the back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of earthiness there. As you come further forward, you can feel that just goes back a little bit. It does become smoother the further forward you go. There's maybe a little touch of a floral note there, and there is a little bit of a kind of grassy note around the front curve of the tongue. I'm guessing, again, that it might be there might be a little touch of Williamette in here, but they maybe just used a little bit of like Columbus or something like that. I think Summit was always a popular one to use with these kind of stout beers as well. But behind the front curve of the palate, that's where you get the little oily bubble, where some of the juicy, fruity esters start to come out of the beer. And this one, it does have a little bit of fruitiness to it. Yeah. I do think they've used a little bit of Williamette in here, I'll be straight up. I think the fruity side of this beer, for me, it has a little bit of a kind of candied red fruity ester to it, but it's also got a little bit of a slightly candied kind of blackberry, I don't know if it's quite black currant, I think it's more of a blackberry sort of flavour to it. This one, it does have a little bit of those kind of candied red fruity esters. It always reminds me of the little heart-shaped sweets you get in Haribo Star Mix. That's the sort of fruitiness that you're getting out of this beer, but the front of your palate does dry out a little bit and start to lean towards more towards that kind of coffee side of things too. But you know, as I said, overall this is a really, really solid beer, and if you like your coffee stouts to be a little bit more roasty and toasty, then this is one that you are certainly going to enjoy. So yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say that this beer is pretty... it is full-bodied, but it's not the heaviest full-bodied beer I've come across. It's definitely at the bottom end of light-bodied. Carbonation is fairly smooth in this one. The mouthfeel overall, it's not creamy, it's more of an oily mouthfeel with a little bit of creaminess and wetness in there. The middle of your palate has a bit of sweetness, but overall, like I said, this beer really leans towards the roasty, toasty side of things in terms of coffee stouts. It has a nice... it's got a nice little bit of sweetness to it, but the IBUs in this beer I think are quite high. I think we're talking maybe 60-70 IBUs for this beer. I'm actually leaning more towards the 70 side of things, because some of it will be coming from the coffee, and there is a good little bit of it coming from the hoppy side of the beer as well. But yeah, nice little bit of hoppy bitterness, good bitterness from the malt base as well. The adjuncts start to make the beer a little bit sweeter the further into the aftertaste you go, but then the roastiness creeps out in the latter part of the aftertaste as well, and you've also got just a little bit of a juicy fruitiness to this one too. So really, it has everything you could want of a coffee stout. The adjuncts work very, very well with it, and you know, it kind of is what it is. It's a more roasty, toasty imperial stout, but it's got a lot of kind of interesting little subtleties to it as well. So you know, kudos to Evil Twin for pulling this one off, and I think they have done a good job with it. If you want a slightly more kind of straight up coffee stout, then I would say to have a look at some of the ones from Dugas Brewery or something else. But this is a style that I've, pardon me, really started to enjoy over the last little while, and I certainly, you know, I wouldn't hesitate to drink this one again, but probably the chances are I won't, because it is a kind of one-off treat sort of beer, this. So if you get the chance to try this, have a go at it, share it with some friends, and just see what you think. But yeah, Evil Twin have done a really nice job of this, and I wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. But yeah, it'll be a difficult one. This is one that I will drink very, very slowly for the rest of the night. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Evil Twin as well, and I'm sure we'll return to these guys in the fairly near future. But this one was the Irish-ish Coffee Stout from Evil Twin in Brooklyn in New York, originally from Copenhagen in Denmark. Just a really nice beer, pretty much what I would imagine the Irish coffee cocktail does taste about. I'll need to go and try one actually for myself, and just and see what it is actually like. I don't know why I've never drunk one of those, but yeah, an interesting beer this, and you just have a go at it for yourself and see what you think. But thank you again for watching. Make sure you check out my social media, and I will catch you guys very soon. The Irish-ish Imperial Coffee Stout from Evil Twin Brewing in Brooklyn in New York, originally of Copenhagen in Denmark. Until the next time, slange just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Skål.